Hey everyone, Aquaman here with Water Wisdom, sponsored by waterfilters.net. Today's video is especially focused on our clients who in the past have purchased the OR-100 O-ring. Now, the OR-100 O-ring is special because it's an incredibly common O-ring. A vast array of filter housings like this 10-inch Big Blue and this 20-inch Big Blue receive the OR-100 O-ring. It goes by a number of other part numbers depending on the manufacturer, and let me be careful to warn you that not all 10-inch and 20-inch Big Blue housings take this O-ring, but a lot of them do. Pentek, American Plumber, Amatec, Culligan, they all take that OR-100 O-ring. A couple of things quickly about this O-ring. First of all, when you receive it in the mail, it might come in a couple of different packages. It just depends on where we're getting them, what manufacturer we're getting them from that month. But this one is very common, and you can see here, if you look closely, first glance, it looks like there are two O-rings inside this package, and that they're way too small for this filter housing. But that's not the case. When we open it up, we find it is a single O-ring folded over on itself. So don't let the package fool you. You might think it's two O-rings that are way too small, but it's really one big O-ring and it's the correct size. Just check on the package. If it's OR-100, you got the right O-ring. Now, a couple of things about O-ring maintenance that a lot of people don't know. The reason you're having to change your O-ring frequently is probably because you're using the wrong lubricant. Many people use Vaseline or petroleum jelly, as it's technically called, or Crisco oil or olive oil or any other kind of oil or grease. Don't do that. It's bad for the O-ring. This is a petroleum-based product that this O-ring is made out of. It will absorb that oil-based product, that oil-based lubricant, and swell up and also lengthen. So it'll be fine while it's in there, but then the first time you open it up, you won't be able to fit this back into the groove from whence it came. Let me show you. Under the cap, right on top, is the O-ring in this groove. You can see how I'm pulling it out there. If it's not properly lubricated, if you use the wrong lubricant, it will grow and it will not fit back into that groove the first time you change cartridges, and you'll be looking for a new O-ring. But if you use what you should be using, you won't ever have that problem. The appropriate lubricant is food-grade silicone grease. Silicone is not a petroleum-based product. It's actually water-based, and therefore it will not penetrate your O-ring and it won't cause it to swell up. The other problem is not lubricating it at all. What happens is when you tighten the sump up into the cap, and when you get to the end, you come to the end of those threads where the O-ring is meeting between the sump and the cap, there's a tremendous amount of friction placed on the O-ring, and it's going to cause the O-ring to stretch out unless it's lubricated so that it just sits there and doesn't move. If it's not lubricated, it's going to be stretched, and it's going to and there's also going to be heat applied to this through the friction. Not good for your O-ring. Generously lubricate with food-grade silicone grease. Now, if you own an OR-100 O-ring or you've ordered one from us in the past, then it is extremely likely that you have either a 10-inch or a 20-inch Big Blue filter housing. And there are a ton of cartridges that fit inside of these industry standard size housings, meaning it's not proprietary, it's not a unique size, it's a very common size. For the 10-inch Big Blue, it's a 9 3/4 inch long by 4 1/2 inch diameter cartridge. This just happens to be a polypropylene spun sediment cartridge, perfect for removing particulate from well water or municipal water, removing rust particles from the water. Any particle, in this case, larger than 1 micron, this cartridge will capture it. Over here, I have a different example. It looks similar, but it's an entirely different cartridge. This cartridge has 2 layers of polypropylene with granular carbon sandwiched in between the two. It's a special design that's not going to restrict your flow even though it's a carbon filter, because if you've ever tried a carbon filter before, you probably know they tend to restrict flow and create pressure loss. not the RFC-20BB from Pentek. This is the #1 selling whole house carbon filter on the market, and it fits into obviously this 20-inch Big Blue housing, and it's also available in the 10-inch size for your 10-inch housing. But there are literally dozens, even hundreds of cartridge types and styles that are the same size that will fit into these housings. So if you own one of these housings, you've got a lot of options, a lot of possibilities to do things to your filter system that, maybe your water conditions have changed and you want to change to a different cartridge, or maybe you're not happy with the performance you're getting from the cartridge you're currently using. You can swap it out for something different and try a different type of cartridge for your application and see if you get better performance. So you got the OR-100 O-ring, you got your 10 Big Blue and 20 Big Blue housings and cartridges that fit inside. They're all common products. They're available at waterfilters.net, and I'm your host, Aquaman. Thanks for watching.